In today's world, advancements in science have provided access to facilities that were unimaginable a few centuries ago. While the benefits of using science are significant, there are also potential risks involved. Nuclear energy is currently the most cost-effective method for generating electricity, but the operation of nuclear power plants can result in catastrophic damage. The video we present focuses on a nuclear accident that took place in 1986 at Chernobyl, a power station close to a Belarusian border in north of Ukraine. What started as a routine safety test soon turned into one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. How did the flawed design, human errors, and a fateful decision contribute to the catastrophic events at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant? Let's find out all the answers in this video. If you are new to our channel, do consider subscribing, and if you enjoy watching our videos, please show your appreciation by clicking the thumbs up button. At the time of the accident, a total of 4 nuclear reactors were in operation, while the 2 reactors were being built. An experiment was planned to be carried out on 25th April 1986 in Reactor 4 of Chernobyl power plant. The aim of this experiment was to continue cooling the reactor with the assistance of turbine generators in case of a power failure. The experiment had failed 3 times before, and this was the 4th attempt. The initial phase of the experiment at 6 minutes past 1 in the morning on 25th April, but it had to be stopped due to a sudden shutdown of another power station in the region at approximately 2 in the morning to cope with the supply shortage. However, experiment was restarted. At 5 minutes past midnight the next day, suddenly the temperature began to rise and steam began to form. The process of steaming was somehow stopped, but making the overall reaction unstable. The most important phase of the experiment began at 23 minutes past 1 in the morning, when the turbine generators were activated. However, the momentum of the turbine generators suddenly decreased and it was unable to run the water pumps, causing the flow of water to be affected. This resulted in an increase in the temperature of the reactor, and steam began to form in large quantities again. Suddenly, the ground of the nuclear plant starts shaking, and few seconds later there is a loud explosion. The roof of Reactor 4, weighing 1200 tons, is blown away and a fire breaks out. As the reactor ruptured, a massive fireball erupted, sending plumes of toxic smoke and radioactive particles into the sky. Panic spread among the people and no one understands what has happened. Uranium and graphite vapors began to spread in the air, which is impossible to control. The local fire brigade was called upon to extinguish the flames, unaware of the lethal radiation they were about to face. Their valiant efforts to control the fire were in vain, as they fought a battle they could never win. The deadly radiation absorbed by their bodies would prove fatal in the days and weeks to come. As the news of the disaster spread, the world grappled with the severity of the situation. Radiation levels had reached unprecedented heights, and a cloud of fear blanketed the surrounding regions. The full extent of the disaster was finally acknowledged by Soviet authorities, who scrambled to contain the situation and prevent further damage. The direct emission of fire and radiation from the reactor was stopped by adding sand and boric acid, but the temperature was constantly rising due to the melting of uranium and other radioactive substances under this pile, due to which cracks were appearing on the ground of the reactor. At the beginning of the explosion, some of the water was used to put out the fire it had gathered below the ground level. And if the molten substances goes in it, the water would have become so hot that it could have caused another explosion. It could have been even more horrific than the first blast, and it could wipe out the 225 kilometers area around Chernobyl, and its effect would have reached Europe, and Europe would have had to be evacuated. It was immediately decided to use lead to reduce the temperature, so the helicopter dropped lead on the site, which lowered the temperature. A few days later, despite all the dangers, the water under the reactor was removed using an underground passage. But there was also a large reservoir of groundwater below this level, so a permanent solution was needed. It was decided that an underground tunnel should be made to reach the reactor, and a cooling device should be placed in the ground beneath the molten uranium and other substances, so it could stop the melting process. Miners from the area around Chernobyl came to Chernobyl, and the tunnel was built within 15 days. Shortly after the work was completed, many of them died, and the rest suffered from radiation sickness for the rest of their lives. To completely isolate reactor number 4, an engineer came up with an idea of a very large covering to cover the reactor, so that no more radioactive radiations could be emitted into the air. It was to be made of steel and concrete with 550 feet wide and 250 feet long. This work could not be done by machines, so despite the danger of radiation, humans had to go to this area on their own. 12 weeks had passed. Eventually, the process of making this cover began, and the pieces began to be attached around the reactor one by one. A total of 3,500 people took part in this task. It took 10 days to complete the work, 7 months after the blast. The entire area was cleared and reactor was covered. However, radioactivity in the area could not be completely removed. Death toll from the accident is also estimated to be between 4,000 and 93,000. People who were told they would only be leaving temporarily and were instructed to bring only essential belongings. In the rush to escape, they left behind homes, possessions, and a way of life that would never be the same. Once a bustling hub of Soviet life became a ghost town frozen in time. The long-term consequences of the Chernobyl disaster were devastating. The World Health Organization estimates that the immediate release of radiation caused 30 direct deaths and thousands of cases of radiation sickness. The subsequent long-term effects, such as cancer and other health issues, continue to haunt the survivors and their descendants to this day. The Chernobyl power plant disaster stands as a reminder of the potential risk associated with nuclear power. It is a sole reminder that the scars left by this disaster will endure for generations to come. And that's it for today's episode of Let Me Tell You. I hope you find our videos informative and interesting. Let us know about your thoughts in the comments below. We value your feedback and want to hear your thoughts on this topic. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Let Me Tell You.